On this Sunday night from Paris, France strikes back. Its warplanes hitting an ISIS stronghold. Panic in the streets here today, a city on edge after the horrific attacks. The death toll stands at 129, 100 more still clinging to life. New video of the horror inside the Bataclan concert hall. Chaos, fear, and gunfire. A stunning story of survival from a man who narrowly escaped death. Tonight, the international manhunt for an 8th suspect. This 26-year-old man from Belgium, where at least 5 people have been arrested in raids. Could one small town hold more clues? And tonight, this city's unmistakable badge of resiliency after 2 attacks in 10 months. We'll show you how Paris carries on. Nightly News begins right now.
Terror in Paris. This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, reporting tonight from Paris.
Good evening. France struck hard against ISIS tonight, just 2 days after the group claimed credit for Friday's terror attack. A wave of French warplanes hit ISIS targets in Raqqa, Syria. While here in Paris, the veneer of calm and normalcy Parisians have tried so hard to project after the attacks proved to be understandably thin as reports of shots touched off a wave of panic. Police fanning out with guns in hand, crowds rushing from outdoor cafes and from the public square where we are. It was a false alarm, as it turned out, but it betrayed the hair-trigger anxiety in Paris on the day officials put a face to the so-called 8th suspect who remains on the loose, and still more new images emerged from Friday's chaos. Let's begin our coverage with Chief Global Correspondent Bill Neely.
This was the moment the deadliest massacre began. The band playing to a sellout crowd when suddenly, gunfire. A guitarist rushes off stage. Most were trapped.
Bullets, grenades, explosions, screams.
By the time of the gun battle, when French police stormed the hall, seen here in Time magazine video, 3 terrorists had killed 89 people. A warning, the aftermath is shocking. Even obscured, the horror is clear. This man police suspect is an accomplice of the killers, and he's on the run. Abdesalam Salah, 26 and from Belgium. Police say he's dangerous. Do not approach. After the massacres, police found a car abandoned with 3 guns and empty magazines inside. And they're looking for a bomb maker. The terrorists had identical suicide vests with nails inside. Intelligence officials also say there are strong links between the killers and ISIS members in Iraq and Syria. Paris this morning was a haunted place.
It's hell. It's not even a war. It's hell. It's a nightmare. And people were hidden under dead bodies.
Among the dead, Noemi Gonzalez, a California student.
She wanted to have a career and a family.
The faces of some of the 129 dead stare out at the places where they died. Many here can't put their grief into words.
One of my best friends died.
The site of a massacre has become a shrine of tears, but also of a fierce determination here that the killers who did this will not win. Almost 100 victims are still critically ill. Paris is in shock, so on edge that the noise of firecrackers sent hundreds fleeing in terror, police with guns drawn. The bells tolled for the victims. Paris tonight in mourning. And just a few hours ago, French warplanes bombed the ISIS stronghold of Raqqa, Syria. 12 warplanes involved, hitting multiple targets, the biggest French attack on ISIS so far. US forces also involved. France had vowed it would respond to the killings here, which it called an act of war. This does look like revenge. Lester?
All right, Bill Neely, thank you. And we have new reporting tonight about the terrorists who police say are responsible for such unimaginable carnage here. Their records and how they traveled to France, all parts of a complicated puzzle that investigators are piecing together tonight. Our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, has late details.
The attackers, French officials believe, operated in 3 teams, carried assault rifles, and wore matching suicide vests. France's justice minister told us All 7 are dead.
No one who has participated at the attack is still alive.
But she said the hunt is on for their accomplices.
We are keep on working in order to identify all the ones who helped them.
France put out a special alert for Abdel Salem Saleh. NBC News has learned that he signed the rental papers for one of the cars used by the attackers. French authorities have now identified most of the 7 attackers' bodies. At least 3 were French, including 29-year-old Omar Ismail Mustafa, identified by a severed finger found at the concert hall. He had a record of petty crime and was known to be close to radical Islam. It appears that the plot was launched from nearby Belgium. That's where the cars were rented and where the suspicion is the weapons were acquired and the explosive vests made. This combination of angry young Muslims from France with weapons from Belgium is exactly what was behind the assault nearly a year ago on a French satirical magazine.
After the Charlie Hebdo attacks, French security officials said they would focus more attention on poor immigrant neighborhoods like this one, where young Muslims were being recruited by extremists. Instead, it appears those homegrown radicals linked up with ISIS.
At least some of the attackers, it seems, arrived in France after joining the mass wave of undocumented, unscreened refugees and migrants that has been washing up on Europe's shores. Greek officials today released images of a Syrian passport which was presented by a migrant in Greece, then in Serbia, and was later found next to the body of one of the attackers at the Paris soccer stadium. A French official told NBC News it was stolen.
If the attackers indeed used the migrant trail, not only would it tarnish the image of millions of refugees, Lester, it would make it so much more difficult for all those people legitimately trying to escape the war zones and find safety.
All right, Richard Engel tonight. Richard, thank you. NBC News has learned at least 4 of the attackers were from Belgium. Tonight, much of the investigation now focused there, particularly in the Brussels suburb of Molenbeek. And our Keir Simmons is there to tell us why. Keir?
Good evening, Lester. The manhunt for Abdel Salem Saleh has led detectives here to Belgium tonight. We crossed the border from France, where there is heightened and heavily armed security. But it may be too late. French police confirming to the Associated Press that hours after the Paris attacks, Saleh was stopped in a car with 2 others near the Belgian border, but allowed to go free. Officials suspect the attack was prepared here, and it's believed the 3 brothers were involved. Saleh is still on the run. Another blew himself up in the Paris attacks, and the 3rd was arrested in this Brussels suburb. Today alone, 7 suspects were arrested in Belgium amid a realization that one family from this suburb may have produced 3 brothers accused of having connections to Friday's massacre, and concerns that this small country has become a hotbed of jihadism. The question tonight is one of the assailants who targeted Paris now hiding in this community. Police have warned the public not to approach him. Lester?
All right, Keir, thank you. Tonight, a poignant story of survival from a man who made it out after the attack on the Bataclan concert hall on Friday. He told me in harrowing detail how he and others crawled to safety and escaped onto a roof. And now he is struggling to come to terms with the horror.
I wasn't supposed to go to this show.
A friend gave Laurent Lafont Batesti the concert ticket, which he carries with him, along with a memory that will never leave him. He sat in the balcony, a great night, he says, until that moment.
First, the sound of explosion, so maybe it was on the show, I thought, maybe. And people around me were more and more afraid. Because I was slow, I followed other people who were under the chairs, on the floor, very slowly going to a door. And then we can hear the sounds of some screams and weapons and the smell of
gunpowder.
Yes. Someone before me has this idea of opening the window to get to the roof.
Was there a ladder to get up there?
No ladder. It was very difficult to access to the roof. Everyone helped each other. I've seen really beautiful behaviors there because people, we were gentlemen, it was ladies first. People in danger, but they think about the others, helping the others.
The group managed to crawl to an adjacent building where they huddled in a stranger's darkened apartment, waiting for help and comforting each other.
What sort of things did you say?
Inside the apartment, I said to people around me, be happy because we are lucky, I think. We will make it, we will survive.
He has spent most of the last 2 days closed away in his apartment. Tonight, Lafont Batesti is back on the streets of his beloved Paris.
It's good to be alive, it's good to walk down the street, and sometimes I feel a bit guilty because I'm alive and some people are not. Why me, why me? But I know I'm wrong, I know I don't have to be guilty to be alive, and I think about a lot of the people who die there, but I don't know what to say.
The questions that haunt so many who are still reliving that horrible day. In Turkey today, President Obama met with world leaders at the G20 summit, where his strong words on the attacks here in Paris reflect a possible shift in the U.S. coalition strategy against the Islamic State. NBC's Ron Allen is traveling with the president and has this report.
A moment of silence as President Obama with the world's most powerful leaders honor the innocents massacred in Paris.
The skies have been darkened by the horrific attacks that took place in Paris just a day and a half ago.
The president vowing to stand shoulder to shoulder with the French, who called the attack an act of war and to hunt down the killers.
The killing of innocent people based on a twisted ideology is an attack not just on France, not just on Turkey, but it's an attack on the civilized world.
An economic summit now dominated with addressing the global terror threat just a few hundred miles from the front line, Turkey's border with Syria. A moment so urgent, Mr. Obama and Russia's Vladimir Putin huddled in a corner, diplomacy on the fly, the two leaders at odds about how to defeat ISIS and end Syria's civil war. Now, following the Paris attacks, the U.S. plans to intensify its year-long strategy, attacking ISIS from the air, while arming and backing local forces on the ground, a strategy widely criticized as ineffective. The hope now that additional coalition partners will amp up the firepower to what's largely been a U.S.-led air war. The French have said they may invoke NATO's collective defense clause, requiring all 28 members to respond. An attack on one, an attack on all.
We're confident that in the coming days and weeks, working with the French, we'll be able to intensify our strike to make clear that there's no safe haven for these terrorists.
The French have said they'll use every means necessary to destroy ISIS, a mission and sense of urgency the U.S. has said it will aggressively support. Lester?
Ron Allen with the president in Turkey. Thank you. When NBC Nightly News continues on this Sunday from Paris, security in the skies. What do we know about those with access to the planes we fly on? Is the TSA doing enough to screen them? With ISIS taking responsibility for the massacre in Paris and that Russian plane crash in Egypt, U.S. aviation officials are on heightened alert tonight. Among the many things keeping them up at night, possible security breaches coming from inside among airport workers. NBC's Tom Costello has our report.
A security scare in Miami this past week. Dozens of flights held as police searched for a passenger after TSA officers flagged his carry-on for a second look, then lost track of him. In the end, a false alarm. The passenger was no threat, but a sign of heightened tension with an ISIS bomb, the leading theory in the Russian Metrojet crash. Of top concern, the insider, a U.S. airline or airport employee who suddenly becomes radicalized by ISIS. It could be a baggage handler, ramp worker, or cleaning crew member. Anyone with access to a plane. John Holinsky is the former TSA deputy administrator.
If you're an insider, you know the system in the airport. You know where the cameras are, where the doors are. You know the guards that are at the gate, and you know who's a good screener and who's a bad screener, or who's a little bit lax and who's not.
Every airport worker in the U.S. is regularly checked against the terror watch list. But when it comes to criminal background checks, they're done by the airports themselves, required only every 2 years. And while some airports require require every single airport worker to be screened every single day. Most airports don't require that. They argue there are simply too many workers to screen all of them every day.
It costs a lot of money to hire those security officers to be able to do those jobs, to buy all of that technology.
In a USA Today editorial Friday, TSA Chief Peter Neffinger writes, using the government's terrorist screening database, TSA continuously vets individuals from their initial airport application throughout the time they have airport access. But security pros insist more needs to be done, including constant random police and TSA checks of all workers inside the airport.
What it does is it throws an insider off because you've not lapsed into a routine.
Also requiring more airport employees to pass through security checkpoints, anything to disrupt a potential threat from the inside. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
When we come back, how the massacre in Paris has transformed the 2016 conversation.
Please stand for a moment of silent reflection for the victims, their families, and their loved ones.
Yet another touching show of solidarity with Paris today, this one from the NFL. Stadiums across the country from New Orleans to Baltimore and Chicago in between paying their respects to the victims of the Paris attacks. The three Democratic candidates for president are back in the campaign trail tonight after a debate last night in which the Paris attacks were a big focus. NBC News White House correspondent Kristen Welker tells us how the attacks have changed the race.
Former President Bill Clinton appearing alongside his wife, Hillary, but it's the Paris attacks overshadowing the presidential campaign.
Attacking Paris, the city of light, reminds us that there is no middle ground in going after these terrorists.
The tragedy transforming the 2016 conversation.
We should declare war and harness all of the power that the United States can bring to bear.
The former Secretary of State in a corner, the candidate with the most foreign policy experience, now forced to answer whether she and her former boss underestimated ISIS, a question she dodged Saturday.
This cannot be an American fight, although American leadership is essential.
Clinton was also pressed to defend her vote for the Iraq War when she was a New York senator.
The invasion of Iraq led to the massive level of instability we are seeing right now.
I have said the invasion of Iraq was a mistake.
Clinton now trying to distance herself somewhat from President Obama, who recently said ISIS has been contained.
It cannot be contained, it must be defeated.
An opening her rival Republicans pounced on today.
The policy of containment isn't going to work.
Others vowing to fix what they say is President Obama's failed foreign policy.
We are going to have to conduct an increased number of special operations attacks targeting ISIS leadership.
We don't have until the next election to deal with ISIL. There is a 9/11 coming.
Candidates across the board talking tough, but offering few details.
Most candidates benefit from drawing a big picture and saying, you know, the United States is going to be a great country again.
And another question, will the attacks shake up the GOP field? After all, frontrunners Donald Trump and Dr. Ben Carson lack foreign policy experience. We'll know for sure when voters weigh in. The Iowa caucus is now just about 2 months away. Lester?
All right, Kristen, thank you. When we come back, how a wounded and grieving city carries on. It's hard to believe, but 10 months ago, I reported from this very square, watching people place flowers and candles and remembrances after the Charlie Hebdo attack. I didn't expect to be here so soon under these circumstances, and I think the people here never thought it would be so soon, that they would be here again. We showed you the panic earlier after a false alarm in Paris. People left here, but they came back, because in Paris they always come back, as Erica Hill reports.
In the heart of Paris, a sea of strength.
We just want to live. And I think that's it. We just want to live.
That message on full display. Young and old, united. A determined spirit. A collective desire to push on.
Why are moments like this important in France?
I'm not sure I can talk, really. We are afraid, but we don't want to be afraid, and we want to fight against this.
That fight tonight burning strong in each tiny flame and in the lights known around the globe. Symbols of a resilient city. Reminders of the beliefs held deep in the French soul. Liberty, equality, fraternity. American Susan Giroux has lived in Paris for 35 years.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any way that people are going to tell Parisians that they can't go to restaurants, they can't go to concerts. That's not the Parisian way, and it's not the French way either.
For the first time since the attacks, the Eiffel Tower shining brightly again tonight for Parisians and visitors alike.
We need to get on with our lives, and we need to be brave and be strong and not succumb to this type of terrorism.
A symbol perhaps that this city, while still in mourning, is not in hiding. Erica Hill, NBC News, Paris.
And as we look at this remarkable tribute here after midnight in Paris, so many tributes, so many messages, but they all say the same thing: Paris is alive. That's NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. I'm Lester Holt. We'll be back here tomorrow for the Monday night broadcast. But for all of us at NBC News, thank you for watching and good night.